I finally did it. I finally finished Andor Season 2. I went back and rewatched all of Season 1 and then Season 2, which is why it's taken me so embarrassingly long to finish it. I really liked Season 1. I didn't review it at the time, though, because it took me a while to finish it. And back then, when I was still doing moist meters, I figured if you're not first, you're last. I thought if too much time passed, no one would care. But I'd always talked very positively about Andor Season 1 on streams. But now that I don't do moist meters per se anymore, now I just do really thorough reviews from the perspective of a Cro-Magnon man. So I don't feel like there's a time limit on that anymore. I don't feel like, the opinion's not worthwhile anymore because, the shit's already been in the toilet bowl steaming. Who cares? It's done and dusted. I no longer have that philosophy. So I'm even more tardy to the party with Andor Season 2 here, and don't give a fuck, because I really want to talk about this. It is some of the finest television you'll find. And I mean that genuinely. It's not just good for Star Wars, it is just good in general. This is like some really intelligent writing. And I know that makes me sound like a fucking Rick and Morty Redditor, but this is one of the actual smartest shows I've seen when it comes to their villains and their schemes. But not just the villains. The villains are so fucking smart and conniving that it forces all of the heroes, the people that you root for, to also be even smarter to try and stay ahead of it or try and use that to their advantage. It's such an incredible show. Like, I mean this sincerely. It is the best Star Wars that Disney has produced, by far, but also some of the best Star Wars produced in general since the original trilogy. And I know a lot of people have shared that sentiment, and before I finished Season 2, I didn't really see that because the first couple of episodes I watched when they dropped, and they didn't hook me. Not in the same way that Andor Season 1 did, which is why I kind of petered off and waited so long. They didn't grip me. But after those first 3 episodes, the whole picture comes into focus, and what they create here is nothing shy of a masterpiece. And it is a tragedy that so many Star Wars fans wrote this off as something that they wouldn't support because it's too dark. Like, what the fuck even is that criticism? We're not allowed to have, mature shows in Star Wars. There are a lot of people unironically arguing that Star Wars is supposed to be for everyone of all ages all the time, which this show is definitely not. A lot of viewers will find a lot of instances in here very disturbing. So they said that because this show is more gritty and dark, it's not a Star Wars show, and it shouldn't be supported as such, which I think is so stupid. To actually lobby against a show that is actually trying to deliver something special, something thought-provoking, and be like, nope, that's bad. That's real bad. We don't tackle those kind of themes in Star Wars. We need mind-numbing slop. What we need is to be fed more fucking bland garbage like Book of Boba Fett. Can we get a Season 2, please? It makes me upset, because this show is incredible. And I know a lot of people have sung its praises and given it its flowers, but I still don't think it's enough. This donut deserves more glaze. It's not up to my satisfaction here. I'm gluttonous when it comes to the praise that Andor, I think, deserves. So, if you know nothing about Andor, it follows the rebellion. Literal, boots on the ground, grassroots rebellion. We follow Cassian Andor. He's looking for his sister. And through his search, he ends up killing 2 Imperial agents. And this murder, well, it gets him into some hot water, which, series of dominoes start to fall over, leads him to a man named Luthen. An incredible character. He is the one that's really trying to just put as much tinder on the fire as possible to build into a rebellion to finally bring down the Empire. And he knows that he is trying to lead this group to a treasure he himself cannot possess. He knows he will never see the fruits of his labor, but he does it because he believes so strongly in it. And we follow this rebellion as they fight against an extremely smart, thorough, and patient empire. They have ISB agents that are always coming up with plans to use propaganda, use false flag operations, and use all kinds of underhanded tactics in their tool belt to try and snuff out these flames and try and find the rebellion and stop it. They are ruthless, merciless, but they're not dumb, and they're not just always a show of force. So stormtroopers, they're intimidating here. They're not just goofy cartoon characters that are just miss every single shot. The stormtroopers, when they are here, like, shit's serious now. They make them scary in the context of this series. They don't always just rely on going in nuts to butts, guns blazing to just kill rebels. They have to destroy the idea of rebelling. They have to tackle it in creative ways. They can't just go and conquer Gorman, for example, which is a huge part of Season 2. And what everything builds to, ultimately, is Gorman and the secret resources that the Empire needs from Gorman for their top secret weapon that they're building. If you've got your thinking caps on, you can probably wager a pretty strong guess on what that might be, Death Star. And they know they can't just go into Gorman and just, like, strip mine, destroy the planet, full stop, caution to the wind. They can't do that. They can't just send in the droids and throw the kitchen sink at this planet. It has political power. So they have to use propaganda. They have to try and, like, subtly plant these seeds of inciting violence from the Gormans to fight back against the Empire, so the Empire can use it as a convenient excuse to snuff out this rebellion and get the favor of the general galaxy and the rest of the Senate. They can't just go in there and just start murdering everyone all willy-nilly, loosey-goosey. It is so smart. It is a show that's not just all about, like, action. You won't see a lightsaber turning on at any point. You won't see someone fucking force choking somebody. You won't see a ton of fights. But when you do see those conflicts, they mean something. They are so big in scale for what they actually mean in the galaxy here. It's so good. And the character work is so amazing. So, like, one thing, like I mentioned, Cassian was searching for his sister. Well, I get into spoilers. I don't remember if I gave a spoiler warning. I've kind of been talking kind of broadly at the moment, but I'm going to give you the spoiler warning now, just in case. In the beginning of the show, Cassian is looking for his sister. That leads him to eventually getting down this path on the rebellion, but he never actually finds his sister. Some people might find that to be an unresolved plotline that might be unsatisfactory. In a lot of cases, I would agree, like, why would you set that up if there's no actual closure there? But in this show, her purpose isn't to really be found. Her purpose of just, like, existing as this idea that Cassian chases that leads him here is far stronger than if he would have had this sibling reunion. So him never finding his sister, it didn't feel like just an oversight or something. It actually made sense. Pretty much everything gets resolved, and even the stuff that kind of doesn't, like that, there's a reason for it that fits really well in the universe there. But by far my favorite character is Luthen. Luthen, he is not a good guy per se. He operates in the morally gray for what is the greater good. So he'll do some very questionable things, and he lies to everyone, he manipulates, he uses everyone, and he's got no qualms about just executing someone he thinks might be a liability. Like, if you've got Bubble Guts on a mission and he thinks you might just, like, break some wind, let out a little wet fart, he will just blast you and throw you into a dumpster. Like, he does some things where he will just put someone down after they've outlived their usefulness, just on the slim chance that the Empire could use them against him. And, that's, like, a bad thing he did. Like, that was evil, but you also understand why he did it. He never compromises on his morals or anything like that. He is very upfront about who he is and why he does what he does, and god damn it is he effective at it. Without Luthen, the rebellion doesn't get to the point that it reaches. But once again, as he said, he is leading them to a sunrise he will never get to see. For all of his effort, everyone in the rebellion doesn't trust him. Pretty much everyone hates him. Even the people that owe their life to Luthen, they don't love him. Like, they appreciate what he's done, but they're not very Luthen positive. And it's tragic, but sensible. It's a show that, like, really respects the viewer's ability to actually get invested. Like, it's a show that doesn't just spoon-feed you everything. It's a show that respects your intelligence as a viewer. So when it's setting up all of these complex themes and all of these, like, moving parts about what the Empire's doing and why, and how the rebellion is going to try and fight against it, it does it slowly, over the course of multiple episodes, and then builds into a huge payoff. The best example of that is the Gorman massacre. That single episode is not only the best episode in the show, but I think it is like one of the strongest episodes I've seen in a series for a while. Like, it is up there with some of my favorite singular episodes. What that episode does is it is the boiling point of everything that's been built. All the propaganda the Empire's been feeding about Gorman, all of the seeds they've been planting to the Gormans without the Gormans knowing, and one character we've followed since the beginning, Cyril, who believes he is on the right side of history by trying to find Cassian, the man responsible for the murder of two of his associates, two people that he worked with, like they're part of the crew, part of the ship. He believes from the very beginning he is on the side of justice. So he takes a position on Gorman to try and lure out lure out the big forces of the rebellion. He dedicates his life to this cause. But it turns out his presence on Gorman was not what he thought it was. The woman that he falls in love with, Dedra, she is someone that's very ambitious, but she is extremely smart in the Empire. And they know that, so they're using her to take control of Gorman through all of the propaganda, through all of the trying to spark a rebellion so they can have a convenient excuse. And she's using Cyril to get close to them. And Cyril believes he's getting close to them to try and get close to, like, the actual rebellion, not so much the Gormans themselves. He knows nothing about the actual purpose of all of this being the resource that the Empire wants. Well, in episode 8, it all becomes very clear to Cyril he's been used not just by the Empire, but by Dedra. She played his ass like a fiddle. Not in the love department. They do a really good job of establishing she does actually really care for him. And he did save her life. Like, she does really appreciate him. But she's got a job to do. And he's a really good pawn to use for this. So he sets pretty much everything in Gorman in motion without him having any idea what he was really contributing to. And then as they're funneling all of the protesters, all the Gorman protesters into the city square, they're setting up a blockade. They've got some big droids there. They've got all the pieces on the board. And Cyril starts to figure it out. Cyril really clicks all the dots in his head. He connects all the breadcrumbs, but it's too late to do anything about it. The Empire has a sniper on the roof. They shoot one of their own to make it look like the Gorman protesters have become violent. This insurrection is here. What the Empire has warned the rest of the galaxy about, the Gormans are violent. They have to be stopped. So they just start slaughtering all the Gormans in the town square. Thus begins the massacre on Gorman, the Gorman massacre. And Cyril, traumatized, looks around seeing it all, and his whole view on everything collapses around him. It is incredibly well done. It builds for so many episodes and culminates with this. But not only that, the man he has been chasing the entire time, Cassian, is also there. Because Luthen was more than willing to let Gorman be a sacrifice to progress the rebellion so they could capitalize off that, where they could use their power in the Senate because they had a senator sympathetic to the cause that Luthen was working with, Mon Mothma. He was willing to let Gorman die for this, so that way they could use that to try and ignite more rebellion across the galaxy. Like, look what they just did on Gorman. Look at this massacre. Here's the truth. But Cassian was there and was witnessing all of this and was there to kill Dedra. Well, Cyril takes notice of him, and then he attacks Cassian. He actually gets the upper hand. Cyril has the gun to Cassian, and with a single sentence, Cassian basically just drives the nail in the coffin of all of Cyril's belief. Cassian says, "Who are you?" The guy that Cyril has hunted, dedicated his life to, thought that what he was doing all this time was for justice. This guy, he doesn't even know who he is. Cassian has no clue who Cyril is. Cassian is just focused on trying to stop the actual evil. And it wavers. It like breaks Cyril right there. And then he gets killed. He gets shot in the head and dies. A super sad character arc, but a beautifully executed one. And the same can be said for just about every character that you follow in any capacity in this show. They all get so much tender love and care put into it. I actually just can't compliment this enough. I cannot believe that it came from Disney Star Wars. I actually cannot fathom that. This is so far removed from all of the boring, safe, sterile garbage that Disney Star Wars has become that it really doesn't even feel like it should be called Star Wars anymore. It's so much better than all of what's preceded it. It's like, I feel like it's almost a disservice to how good this show is to even have Star Wars attached to it in name. Like, I really think that this show is something special. So I highly encourage anyone out there, even if you don't like Star Wars, like typically, I think you should still give this show a chance. It is really something that I think they nailed. So I just wanted to gushing grannies over this for a little bit here, because I am just giddy with how great this show was. They also had a really satisfying conclusion, I felt. I really think that at no point did it ever falter towards the end here. Like I said, the first couple episodes of season 2 didn't like draw me in as much as I would have expected. Like I didn't love those all that much, but in the context of the rest of the season, they're great. Like everything about this show is extraordinary. So yeah, just wanted to review Andor a little bit here. That's about it. See ya.